Welcome to PLZ Soccer's football show on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. I'm Peter Martin, Alan Ruff and Tam Cowan are with me. Lots to get through, lots of managers to hear what they have to say after last night's fixtures. Celtic maintain their 7-point advantage at the top. Rangers get a confidence-boosting win over Hearts. It was Dundee United who hammered Kilmarnock, who didn't see that one coming. And there was a 4-goal thriller between the two Saints, St Mirren and St Johnstone. We'll also hear from Gareth Southgate on that England World Cup squad. So let's get into the meat and bones of it. At Fir Park, it was tighter than the Cup game, Ruffy, and in the end, Celtic just edged it 2-1.
Yeah, they did. Two good goals, two good, well-worked goals. Motherwell had chances, but when you get against Rangers and Celtic, if you get a chance, you've got to score. You don't get that many in the 90 minutes, so you've got to, when they come along, you know, and Motherwell came along in the first 2 or 3 minutes of that game, it might have changed the game a wee bit, but at the end, I think Celtic, with all the possession that they had, could have scored more. Not a lot more, but it was tight in the end.
Yeah, a controversial part of it was the VAR again, Tam, because I think Celtic fans are up in arms that Jota's goal was disallowed. If anything, I thought the camera positioning didn't help the referees, if indeed that was the only angle they were looking at it from.
Techie stuff can go wrong, Peter, as we know only too well. I think it was a toenail. There's an increasing, like other bits of the body. The ball hair was always mentioned in Scottish football for a that ball was out of ball hair. I think we're going to hear more and more of the toenail, because that's all it takes now to be offside. And it was a terrible angle, and the one that's been doing the rounds overnight. It's causing all sorts of arguments and everything over nothing, really, because it wasn't a crucial moment when you look back at it and you digest the whole game. Celtic won fairly and squarely 2-1. I'm saying that as a Motherwell fan who sat there watching my team getting beaten. But yeah, 2-1, fair enough. Maybe it wasn't a classic. If I can just, incidentally, because there's never any sour grapes for me, I'm not that sort of chap. Well done to the Celtic fans, the atmosphere and that, you know, a lot of folk sometimes go on their high horse when it comes to flares, fireworks, whatever it might be. It was almost like one of the big, meaty, kind of Turkish games or something like that, you know what I mean? The games that you'd see with all the colour and everything. I thought it was absolutely brilliant. It all added to it. And let's be honest as well, that's the Celtic fans coming back for, you know, a very much less than successful European campaign to be right up for the cup again against Motherwell, when they should be knocking these teams aside anyhow. Then I think, good on you. Brilliant atmosphere.
Yep, as well as the goal that was disallowed, there was 2 goals, one of them in particular, the passing from the midfield from David Turnbull. I actually thought it was Abelgard last night, but it was David Turnbull who put the ball through for Maeda to get what proved to be the winner in the end.
Yeah, it was a wonderful bit of skill. Tam will know he's got that in his locker for the time he was at Motherwell, and he's just not been getting as many games as I think he would have liked, you know, but when he gets a chance, he always comes up with something a wee bit special.
Yeah, well, at the end of the game, Ange Postecoglou was indeed asked about the victory, but quite a few were interested in his reaction to Steve Clarke, who said he's not happy with Celtic pulling their players out of the friendly against Turkey to go to Australia, but Ange managed to bat that one away successfully.
Yeah, I think that's fair enough. He's disappointed because he's in charge of the national team, and I have no issue with that. I mean, I get disappointed when players go away in national teams and don't play and get injured. We all have disappointments, but we're all big boys, and I'm sure we can get on with it. At the end of the day, it's not really our issue, or even Steve's. It's FIFA that designated it, not an international window. So we've had our trip in planning for a long time. It's important for our football club. It's important for our supporters.
Yeah, much ado about nothing, Tam, because Celtic knew about their trip to Australia long before a quick friendly was organised for Scotland.
Yeah, they did, but I've got slight kind of grin in my face thinking about it. There's a lot of Celtic fans saying, the Scotland game against Turkey, that's pointless, you know, and you think, well, you know, if that's the Celtic attitude, it's a pointless game, you know, why did they not leave their players at home for the tie in Madrid? Yeah. Which was pointless as well.
Yeah. The other thing about
why risk a deep vein thrombosis on the plane or a niggle in that game?
Well, to be fair, the Madrid one was worth it, to be honest with you. But
who did you have in A-shows?
Sorry?
Who did you have in A-shows? I know we were all, you know, your normal servants on a day-by-day basis. We were all left back here in the bad weather and that. Who did you have?
We had
Frank McAvenny.
We had Macca.
Stephen McGowan.
Yeah.
The Daily Mail. Yeah.
We decided to go, well, we wanted to balance it. Unbelievably intellectual, and Macca was there too.
That was good.
But have you ever gone on those trips? I mean, you must
I've
have
never had a trip with you ever. No, you fine well, you know it.
But
you would one with me when I took you out to the restaurant, the south side of Glasgow. But no, whether it's been Liverpool or the Man City one that get cancelled, I've never been in any of those.
What happened
But
in
feel
the World
free
Cup?
to use my face and then my name to do with the programmes if you think it helps you.
What happened in the World Cup in '98? Did you leave any of your guests behind?
That was great. I must say, all kidding aside, Peter, I'm gagging for something like that. See, to get another trip like that was one of that was just one of the greatest times of my life. 3 weeks in France at '98, and you do start wondering when will we see it again.
By the way, you would have gone with us to Motherwell in Europe.
Where?
If that had
happened, right? Aye. What would have been the outcome, by the way, if we'd have qualified for Qatar? What was you as the gaffer?
We're all going. The only thing that would have been a difficulty for you was to say to your bosses, by the way, I've been with you 25 years at the BBC. can I have it?
We'd have been out with them as well.
Oh, that's okay.
That's where the hypocrisy kicks in. Everybody's talking about you. If we would have beaten Ukraine and then Wales, there would have been no mention of human rights and those naughty Qatarians, if that's what you call them, would have been straight earlier.
Absolutely.
But it's a strange old thing.
There's no such a thing as sporting integrity when it comes to money, as you can see.
On that note, and I want to be clear about this as well, because I saw there was some folk giving Ali McCoist a wee bit of flack, and I think, whoa. Yeah, Ali's going out there to do the World Cup as a football guy, and a guy who's very, very good in the co-coms, of course. Yeah. He's lauded for it on a weekly basis. It would only been any hypocrisy for Ali if Ali, before this tournament, or the minute it was given to Qatar, if Ali had been on his soapbox ranting and raving about human rights, that's not what Ali does. You know, so that's not where the hypocrisy kicks in. You want hypocrisy, I'm afraid you need to maybe look at guys like Sir Beckham, you know.
And lots of people who are taking vast amounts of money for it. Anyway, apart from anything else, the people who have been selected to play for their country are going. Cameron Carter-Vickers, he's in the USA squad, and he's well pleased with that, Ruffy.
Yeah, I said to you the other day, you know, when you're a footballer, you know, you love to play for your country, you want to pull on that jersey, and if you're good enough to get selected to go to a World Cup, as Tam's been there as a supporter, so you can imagine what like it is as a player for 3 weeks. It's a highlight of your whole career, and it's wonderful. It's a wonderful time.
Do you know how many? Can you rattle the names off? I know there's 2 boys now at St Mirren,
yeah.
Boy Keanu, Bacchus
is in.
And what I could not believe for your era, do you think, because when they were saying that he's the first active St Mirren player, when he was called up first, he's the first active player that would go out there to a World Cup.
Yeah.
I was convinced that in 78 or 82 there must have been guys in the fringes, a Campbell Money or just mind when St Mirren always, when we were growing up, they always finished third or fourth at
Tony
Fitzpatrick. They always got into Europe, but nobody.
It was me.
What was you?
Partick Thistle.
Aye, but we're talking.
Everybody else was playing with Liverpool and Man United.
So you were the one that was, if you like, there for the wee Diddy club, right?
Yeah.
Changed days, eh?
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, a wee word for Motherwell, because obviously there's, the injuries are racking up. That's their 1 win in the last 7, and that's their 5th home defeat. Stephen Hamill, clearly difficult to try and keep things going. Obviously wants to just limp over the line, hopefully with a positive result at the weekend. He wasn't too happy with Celtic's second goal last night, because Motherwell were on the attack.
Yeah, it was right in front of us. I think Mats took it quickly. The Celtic player stopped it. He stopped it, but he stopped it from off the pitch. So that was a frustration of ours, that he's actually. So essentially, the Celtic players headed the ball onto the pitch. It's not an excuse or whatever. It was, we were wanting them to look at it. I don't even know if they did, but it was just dismissed quickly. So yeah, ultimately it was a chance for us to go on the attack. The Celtic players stopped that at source, and then they got up and scored. So we would have liked them to at least have a look at it.
Yeah, it's strange actually. I think a lot of managers are going to be slightly miffed at things that referees are going to have a look at. VAR might draw their attention to it. I think the overriding aspect of the game is, I'm looking at the injury list for Motherwell: Mugabe, Van Veen, McKinstry, McGinn, Carroll, McGinley, Ross Tierney. There's a lot of people who have picked up wee niggling injuries.
Exactly, and to put that absolutely into perspective, when you maybe even looked at the Celtic bench last night and some of the guys who didn't get on for Celtic in terms of strength and depth and all that. So yeah, that's why, the game on Saturday at Motherwell, we were up at Perth and St Johnstone. Good luck to them. Wasn't that long ago they were calling for Callum Davidson's head on a plate, but they've been a magnificent run and they came back at the death last night. So they're going really, really well. But again, there's nothing in it. I mean, I don't know if we're going to dip down to the Championship later in the show, but it's a bit like that as well. There's Ruffy's team, all kidding aside, been on a terrible run, right? We've been joking about how they'll need to punt the manager and all the rest, and at least one of the directors. Well, you know, how many points are the Affleck second place or something? There's nothing in that. Exactly. So
Peter's already made an excuse for the Motherwell manager. We've got 5 or 6 players out as well.
Exactly.
That doesn't work.
But you know the way it goes, Peter.
Oh, your budget.
Peter, I think that, you know, good luck to MD putting a coupon on Scotland's top flight, because I think when you've got Celtic up there, who for me are going to stoat it this year, right? I think they'll waltz away with the title. They've got that gap to Rangers, and you've got this big gap now it's building between Rangers and the others, right? And I think for Hearts all the way down. I would argue, and of course, some of the clubs in their Hibs, Hearts, for example, Dundee United, of course, have sampled lower league football in recent years. I think any one of them could get in, and it's a brave man that would put them in your coupon. When you look at the results for the previous evening, you know, Ross County going to Easter Road, getting a comfortable victory. Livingston against Aberdeen, who everybody was bumming up as let's name back, they're the third force again, you know. So I think there's not much of a muchness in there, and at least it will give us a bit of excitement later in the year, because you've got no idea who's going to get down, who's going to be involved in the playoff, who's going to be in that bottom 6 when all the real fighting starts. So if you can get a bit of excitement out of it, brilliant.
Yeah, well, the Rangers fans were looking for a bit of excitement last night. In the end, they got one moment to cheer. It was Malik Tillman who scored the goal after a nice pass from Ryan Kent and Giovanni Van Bronckhorst. I think at this point, happy that they were able to deliver that win.
Speak about the club, the team, and less, you know, for my own personal, you know. So I'm really happy with the win today. You know, first of all for the club, for my team, for the players, for everyone involved in this club. And I always put myself behind the queue, and that's in my character. So, but of course I'm happy also for myself that we won today, but, you know, only as last person.
Well, I think he needed to get that win, Ruffy. It was tense at times, but finally, you know, the goal did come, and then they were able to hold on.
Yeah, I think it was the 64th minute. You know, up until then, you could feel the nervousness on the park and off the park. You could see there was a bit of tension mounting, but obviously when that goal goes in, you can see the relief. You know, players start to play a wee bit. You know, Ryan Kent had a couple of fantastic wee dribbles. You know, Tillman had a couple of wee dribbles as well. And then for the last 10-15 minutes, it was all Rangers. But another VAR one as well. Now, I looked at the VAR one at the corner right at the end, and right away the commentator said, "Oh, it's hit his face." And I went, "Well, it looks as if he's hit his face."
Yeah.
But when I saw it again, it looked as if it hit his hand.
Yeah, absolutely. I know. I think.
I thought it was a clear hand.
Yeah. Well, this is the thing about the handball. I think, Tam, it's really annoying people now, because some people say, "Oh, if you have a look at it, is it a handball if it's in the unnatural position? Is it a handball in the box, in the penalty box, and your hand's up here?" You know, there are some people saying, it's a penalty, and the ref looks at it, it's a penalty, and then sometimes they're not even looked at it.
It would appear, I know, it would appear now that everyone that has looked at it just give it as a penalty, and then the stats came out the other day for this extraordinary extra number of penalties that have been given because of VAR rather than pre-VAR. Now, two ridiculous things for me, and I'm a big fan of VAR. I mean, ultimately, and I think if you did have the right angle for Fir Park last night, I do think, going back to the toenail debate, that it was offside. And if we're talking absolute fractions like that, then fair enough, because that's what everybody was demanding. And everybody was actually expecting that with one look pre-VAR, that the referee was meant to pick every one of them correctly, which is a nonsense. What chance did they have? So we've got the cameras that are, I think, doing it correctly, much to the chagrin of some football supporters, of course. Then fine, leave it to the technology, but there are clearly flaws. When you've got the situation with Tony Watt and that quite baffling red card against Motherwell the other week, and then the one that did it for me, I mean, forget even the Michael Smith handball that was laughable, the one in the Celtic Hearts game, but the boy Bernabe, if that's how you pronounce his name, being penalised. I mean, he's got his back to the guy who hit the ball, he's got his back to the ball, he's in mid-air. What are you meant to do?
I wonder how many cameras were at Fir Park last night, Tam. It's something that I was curious to ask someone last night, because if that's the only one that's materialised, You know, and I've looked at all the footage, and there is not a camera. And there's usually, they said, there's going to be a minimum of 6 cameras at every one of the games, which is 18-yard line, 18-yard line, main position camera, one behind the goal, and then other positions which it could be 2 behind each goal, main camera, and then that's 5.
Yeah.
And then you pick one from some other angle.
You know, the only thing I could say as well, and therefore let's be grateful that wasn't a match-defining incident. Everybody did agree with us that they would all be finding their feet. It was never, I don't think, going to be flawless the minute it was introduced. You remember I think the actual adjective that Ian Maxwell used was horrendous. If you remember the post, I'm stuttering here now. The conference that he did on it, the press conference. Sorry, that's the word I was trying to get. I really shouldn't have got after I get
You're absolutely. That's what happens when you get absolutely bladdered.
You do the radio 28 years, you can't get near a pint at the game on a Saturday or that. You go with your pals on a Wednesday and you make the best of it, you know. And that was in defeat as well. What would you be like for the win?
Well, I was going to say, you never mind the fact of people getting miffed at VAR, but when it's being used, the time it's taken as well is annoying people. And then the time that's added on, because Robbie Nielsen was not happy last night that suddenly he claims Rangers got the additional time when they want it, but when Hearts are looking for it, didn't materialise.
No, I was just unhappy with the 3 minutes at the end, you know. When we're holding on for a 1-0 lead, we get 7 and 8 minutes. When you come here, it's 3 minutes. So, you know, I think there was a lot of time wasting towards the end of the game from Rangers, you know, which is something I've not seen here before. You know, but you know, the referee decided that he would just look at the substitutions. So, you know, I thought towards the end of the game we were in the ascendancy. You know, Rangers were time wasting, getting out the park, and I was hoping for a bit more.
Oh, there you are. How to annoy everybody, but if Robbie feels that way, then he's quite right to say it.
Well, you've got to actually know. I mean, you were at the briefing, the VAR briefing. You know, people have to be wise to how it works. You know, if for talking's sake, I mean, you have to tell me this. I wasn't at the briefing. In the second half, if we stop VAR and it takes 4 minutes to get it sorted out, does that get added on to every substitute that comes on?
It should, Ruffy.
Well, well, maybe he's right. You know, I don't know how many VARs there was in the second half of the game. I know how many substitutes. So that's par for the course. Again, it's consistency.
To even mention the referee there, I think that's poor. I mean, we all know the position Rangers were in. We all knew, you know, how nervous Rangers must have been going into that game last night. Yeah, we thought Hearts were up for it, and everybody's maybe expecting, you know, could Hearts, you know, get a result here? Could Hearts start maybe trying to chase Celtic, whatever? No, Rangers won the game. The stuff that Robbie's taught, you know, it's normally 7 minutes here, and you think, oh, come on. And I'm sorry, but from his going on as well about Rangers were time wasting. If you have ever watched Hearts under Robbie Nielsen, and I've seen it at Fir Park when they've been in the lead and you're getting into the final few minutes, let's say it's the only time Craig Gordon looks his age, when he's suddenly hobbling around about and putting the ball from one side to the other.
This is his fraternity. My biggest bugbear is when the keeper saves it, he's standing up and then he drops down onto the ground.
Oh yeah, aye, straight out.
Yeah, straight out. There's another one of that annoying feature of.
Oh, see, talking goalies, and before because we moved on from Motherwell, and I need to ask Ruffy Basket. I got a real buzz out of this the other week. As you know, Peter, we've got a week on Friday. We've got the 2022 Motherwell Hall of Fame, right? So don't need to get into the details why, but we had sadly somebody who was going to be inducted was withdrawn. Okay, so somebody that we had lined up, penciled in for next year, because you've got to spread these things out. So you try to get them for different generations, you know. So somebody we'd penciled in for next year, we moved up the list, and he's going to be inducted this year, next Friday, and I'm really excited. I think it's absolutely the right era for me. Ruffy must have had some dealings with him, you must remember him fondly, but the guy we're going to get in is our punk goalie from the 81-82 First Division winning team, who wore an emerald green jersey when he ran out to face Rangers, and a royal blue jersey when he ran out to face Celtic. He had one of the best moustaches in the history of Scottish football, Hugh Shuggy Sproat. Yeah. Brilliant. A proper cult character.
Is there a story about the one that was has withdrawn?
Oh no, it was just again you try to track down people, and then if it's a posthumous award, you try to get members of their family. And
Right, okay.
They couldn't make it, but time marches on, so you didn't want to leave it to the night before.
Yes.
So we thought, right, we'll move this guy up. That's the beauty of it. You can shuffle it a bit. But I thought, and I just happened to chuck it into the full cup at conversations. Well, that'll be Hugh Sproat. He might know if he did the first division medal with Motherwell, but it's not all about, these things Hall of Fame. You get the cult characters who get picked as well, But I mean, do you remember him?
He used to wear a headband as well.
Aye, the headband as well, aye.
Swinging the goal.
Swinging the bar, shuggy, swinging the bar.
Ayr United he came from.
Ayr United to Motherwell, and again in a wee link with PLZ, if you like, Peter. We were talking about it last night with my pals who always remember this fondly. There was a Motherwell Hamilton Accies game on New Year's Day, and his other thing that Ruffy didn't mention there that he loved doing was dribbling way outside his way up to the halfway line, and he did it in a New Year game, and one Mick McManus dispossessed him and went up and had an open goal, scored wee Tam's Uncle Mick.
Is that right?
Aye, you remember?
Yeah, because I think Rennie Aguita, he's another man that used to like dribbling out, but not a good one for fans with your heart in your mouth, especially today. Have you
Did
done
it once at Hampden and never again.
Yeah.
No.
Scotland-England game. Trevor Brooken was on the halfway line, trying to split the defence to Kevin Keegan out wide. Put it out wide about 25 yards out. I saw the linesman put his flag up, so I casually runs out, gets the ball, nutmegs Keegan, and the referee says play on.
Is that panic?
I'll tell you what, in terms of best bit of skill with a keeper going outside the box, in terms of such a high profile game, what would be your nomination? And it'd be a Scotsman.
Going outside the box.
Outside the box, displaying a real bit of skill, and then ultimately the biggest game of his and his teammates' career.
Ronnie Simpson.
Yeah, and what was the piece of skill? What did he do?
He backflicked it.
He backheeler.
Oh, so
Milan.
he did, that's right.
Yeah, absolutely. Ruffy, Dundee United 4, Kilmarnock 0. I don't think any of us saw that coming when we were doing our predictions, but it was a good one, and there were some good goals in it as well for United.
Yeah, I said yesterday I thought the Dundee United boys would take a bit of heart for the Celtic performance, although they lost a couple of late goals to go there at 2 each, with a couple of minutes to go. You would go into that game and you would expect the manager to sort of beef the players up and say, look, this is what can happen if you string it together.
Yep.
And they certainly strung it together, with obviously a wee bit of help for poor defending for Kilmarnock. But to the end,
of course, I didn't even have time last night to whiz through the highlights, but I believe, and then you think, I believe that Derek was starting making the subs before even half-time break.
Half an hour.
Nothing to do with injuries or anything.
Not happy, as you would be, because I think at that point they were about 3-0 down. Yeah. Although, what did you think of the positioning of the wall and the goalkeeper for Middleton's free kick?
I said that when I saw it going in, I went, God, he should have went one outside the post.
Yeah.
But when I saw it again, he actually went over the wall. He went over the man second in for the wall.
You think so?
And came in. If you get a chance to see it again, it never went round the wall, it went over the last man.
Yeah, I watched it with the extra camera that was supposed to be at Fir Park, and it showed it from that angle.
Did you see the clip? And I was fascinated with this, and I thought Peter will definitely have seen this with his love of the English game, but I think it was an Aston Villa game, and the clip was doing the rounds. I think the Aston Villa goalie, he was coming out to the edge of his box. The camera was behind the goalie, looking away up the other end of the pitch, and I think it was a free kick to Aston Villa. And the Villa goalie was lining up 3 guys from Villa in the defensive wall to blind the goalkeeper. So they were using this goalkeeper's expertise to block his view by putting a few guys. Did you see that?
Did it
it's
win?
Absolutely fascinating. Yeah, they scored.
Wow.
And I thought, that was cute. I'd never seen that before.
Yeah, I mean, full march to them.
Peru, they did it at Peru.
So they did Ruffy, Kilmarnock, trouble, you said they would go down.
I just don't think he's got enough quality and depth. They will take points off certain teams in the league, but it's a big struggle now. They really need to take something out of this one, the game at the weekend, to go into this break, because you don't want to go into this break sitting bottom of the league.
It'll be interesting as well to see what happens, I think, at Kelly over that period and when you get into the next transfer window, because as you know already, maybe the money had been chucked in the first place at getting Derek, somebody has calibre into the club, bringing them out of the Championship. They don't want to go back down the way.
Well, it's only last week, Tam, that Derek mentioned in an after-match press conference that he actually said his team was displaying that kind of quality that was worthy of a championship side rather than realising they're in the Premier League. So they're facing Hibs at Rugby Park. We'll talk about Hibs in a minute, but St Mirren 2, St Johnstone 2. This was a great game. 2-2. Nicky Clark's been a fantastic signing for Saints, hasn't he?
And again for Callum Davidson, having the cojones to put him and May together up front, because they're still in injury so far has meant it was impossible, and it may be the case again with big Kevin Van Veen if he's picked up any sort of serious injury. But yeah, when we brought in Louis Moult, first and foremost I thought, that'd be, let's get him and Van Veen up front, let's see what will happen there. But it's still really only been maybe the one of them with the two guys playing after them or whatever you're meant to say in modern day football. But Nicky Clark and Stevie May, brilliant. Nicky Clark, you know, the bottom line throughout his career, he's always known where the goals are, simple as that, and it's coming to fruition.
A contentious decision, Ruffy, and back to what you're saying about handballs. God, I felt sorry for St Johnstone. The ball comes off Tanzer's arm, it's been belted off it.
Yeah, it's not only been belted at it, it's there. No, it's that.
Yeah.
It's coming around the back of him.
Yeah.
You know, so how can it be? It's just, I think referees now are under the instruction, if it hits a hand, it's a penalty. And that means you can't argue about it. It hit his hand, so it's a penalty, and that's what's making it.
The good thing about that, Ruffy, is that what you're not getting now, and think about it, not that long ago, right? It was happening all the time and after every decision. You're now not getting the poor referee who is trying his best. He's really, really trying his best. You're not getting him surrounded by players after decisions, because the players are at least intelligent enough to know that, well, it's not this guy's fault now. Everything has been caught on camera, and he's at the mercy now of VAR. So, you know, as much as maybe, and Ange Postecoglou made a point about, quite rightly, about how long some decisions were taken, then in some respects we're getting cracking on with it because the players aren't surrounding the ref, and that's not taking up time, getting out bookings for dissent and all the rest of it. So again, it'll bed in, Peter. It'll bed in. Before I had a fit of the stutters earlier, which if this hadn't been a live show you could edit out, you know, sadly not, but when I had a wee fit of the stutters earlier, I was saying that Ian Maxwell did use the word horrendous, and that's the SFA chief. So he knew, listen, it'll sort itself out.
Well, I don't think there was any problem with Alec Mitchell's red card, because when he makes the challenge, he then sticks his leg up rough. I thought it was naughty.
Yeah, I thought it was naughty as well. And they're the ones you want to catch. They're the ones you don't want to see them getting away with it. And quite rightly, that was rescinded and that the red card was given. So I thought that was the right decision.
Yeah, great goal by Nicky Clark right at the end, and St Johnstone continue this impressive run, unbeaten in 4 with 3 wins and that draw last night. Here's the Scottish Premiership table to have a look at it. It's getting tight, certainly at the bottom anyway, as you can see. Kilmarnock now hit the bottom, and the goal difference moves Dundee United into 11th. There's Ross County as well, with that good win the previous night, and Motherwell. You know, Tam, you can get dragged into it, can't you?
You can get dragged in, or you could hover and start going up the way, because there you go, that was 10 points. 10 points between third and bottom. You know, it's nothing really. And if any of the clubs then can go in the sort of run that St Johnstone have done, then suddenly you're really elevating yourself in the league. But it'll be great. There'll be plenty of excitement. But I'm already, I must admit, already, because as a Motherwell fan, in the way that I've watched the different style of play under Stevie Hamill. Now, we've had a stinking run of results. Incidentally, for them to at Fir Park, who for whatever reason, I'd find it hard to imagine, if you them to at Fir Park, Motherwell fan who didn't like Stevie Hamill for whatever reason, he was overrated as a player, he should never get 500 appearances. If there's anything like that, they'll be giving him dogs abuse now, just based on results. And that's what football is. But if you take a step back at Motherwell now, look at the bigger picture, look at the football that was being played by the previous manager, I think just let him work away at the team. He's still not, again, to quote another old cliche, he's not got his own players yet, you know. He's not really brought anybody in, apart from Louis Moult, of course, on loan. So I'm starting to fancy us maybe to be this year's surprise Scottish Cup team. I think we might have got a settled side, playing the way Stevie Hamill wants them to play, to have a wee go at the Cup.
I'm starting to think, Ruffy, that the no surprise in the predictor table is Hugh McDonald, because I'm looking. You took a wee Maddie on the predictor, didn't you? By the way, with your outrageous 0-0s and 2-0s. I can always tell when you take one of these wee huffy ones, and he had one of those. Ruffy, didn't he?
Yeah, nearly got one right.
Well, of course, but his predictor table suddenly. I mean, if Hugh would stop predicting Rangers to draw, but look at it, because I'm on 119, but Ruffy, you're out in front 130. Tam McManus is 2 behind me in 117. Alison on 114, and Tam, if you had the bit between the teeth, you're on 103. You're not too far away. By the way, there's such a thing as a 21 pointer that happens.
I don't think the bit between the teeth, I think the bill between my teeth when we return to that lovely restaurant. That's what I'm panicking about. Because I think Hughie, I think my best chance is maybe a cold snap.
Yes.
And we lose Hughie over the winter. But he would still, we take money out, he's kind of,
We just get somebody to replace him like you did with Gabs.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
aye. Didn't even put his hand in his pocket that night. Away in my son.
Not a chance.
Not a bean. No, it's a long way to go, as they say.
Yes, absolutely. With Hugh just holding the whole thing up with 94 points. Here's the fixtures for the weekend, and some tasty ones at that, because we've got St Mirren against Rangers, Celtic Ross County, Hearts against Livingston, it's Killie against Hibs, St Johnstone Motherwell, and Aberdeen Dundee United. Those games, incidentally, the last before everything shuts down for the World Cup. But can I just mention that there will be lower league games continuing, Ruffy, which we will cover. We're going to be right across the World Cup, hopefully with a nice wee competition, which everybody should enjoy. But I've got to mention St Mirren because, of course, I think St Mirren have teamed up with Kibble and the Scottish Leather Group, and they're basically asking the fans, they did it last night, they're asking the fans to bring in warm clothing, jackets, lots of things that they can hand out to people in the difficult months ahead. And I think it's a brilliant gesture by them, and they just want people who are maybe not using certain jackets and certain warm clothing, boots, blankets, hats, gloves, you name it, scarves, to bring them in, and then they'll be distributed in the community. And I have to say, on Saturday, Tam, I just think that's a brilliant gesture.
It's great, although the word leather to be used in relationally, headlines have been made if it wasn't for such a good cause. But no, it's brilliant. And on that note, I don't want to get remotely political or anything like that, but it's terrible that we have to even be doing that and giving our fellow Scots, our fellow citizens, clothes to see them through the winter. It's terrible. I drove through the centre of Glasgow the other night in a taxi, and in the Hielanman's umbrella at Argyle Street station, the vans here as well, giving poor souls a bowl of soup and all that. It's utterly ridiculous, but that's the state we find ourselves in, so that's well worth repeating, that if anybody can get, are they just accepting any gear then at the club?
Yeah.
You can get in there and drop some stuff off in a bag.
Absolutely. I think we've got a picture of it there, just as a wee promo picture of the boys all getting ready to take any bit of clothing. And well done to Keith Lasley and all the backroom team for teaming up with the Scottish Leather Group and Kibble for this one.
Turn coat that Keith's holding.
Yeah. He just won't let it go, will he? Keith was
anyway, he's in the Hall of Fame next week.
Is he? He's going to get battered
on stage.
But well done to the St Mirren boys. I think it's a great gesture. And of course, Tam getting a bit political there, but fortunately, because this is a recording, we'll be able to edit that out, in case people go mental with them. Some games at the weekend. Of course, we like to preview the games and get the reporters out to the games, and Kerry's been very, very busy today because Hearts face Livingston at Tynecastle. It's the last game, as we mentioned, before the World Cup break, and she's been catching up with David Martindale.
I'm here at the Tony Macaroni Arena this afternoon, where Livingston boss David Martindale has been looking ahead to his side's clash with Hearts on Saturday at Tynecastle. Just one more game to go before the break for the World Cup. Livingston currently sit joint third with Aberdeen in the Premiership table, just goals separating the two sides at the minute. 3 points is the difference between third and eighth, so there is no margin for error in this last 90 minutes this weekend. Livingston haven't managed to get 3 wins in a row in the last 2 seasons, but they have that opportunity this weekend. The manager says just how competitive the league has been so far this season.
Well, hopefully we can take it to 3 games. It's difficult, I think. I spoke about it earlier. I think I came across slightly wrong in the respect I said Celtic have got a divine right to pick points up. They've not got a divine right, but they're probably the team with the highest probability of winning on a Saturday on their current form and momentum. Everybody else, anybody can beat anybody on a given day, so it's a highly competitive league, so getting the 3 games in the bounce is really, really difficult. If probably outside the old firm. So it's a really, really big ask. So Hearts will be looking for 3 points and we're looking for 3 points. So it should be a good game of football.
I think if you're looking at the break, I think you can look at it with tremendous pride at what they've achieved, Ruffy.
Yeah, I think it's absolutely amazing what they've done, particularly in the last 2 or 3 weeks. And I said the other day there, we're all talking about who's going to be third, Aberdeen, Hibs, Hearts. If Livingston were to go to Tynecastle at the weekend and beat them, they've got to be up there for a shout for third or fourth. I think on the form that they're in.
Yeah, and I loved the way as well he stuck up for his pitch in midweek after Jim Goodwin had absolutely slaughtered it, you know. And talking of which, I mean, come on, I mean, Jim Goodwin, I would have liked to have thought Jim after all the Ryan Porteous carry on, I'd have liked to have heard them coming out and had a wee go at Duke, you know, but he's claiming that he didn't dive, but oh, come on, you know. No matter, it's indefensible, that one. And I'll tell you how I knew and how I think in my heart of hearts that Duke dived is because Marvin Bartley came out and slaughtered them and used the word diver on Sportscene. Now Marvin, as we know, a few weeks ago, and then he disappeared off social media, wrongly accused a supporter at the Dundee United Hibs game of being, and I quote, a racist scumbag. Turns out Marvin got it wrong. His ears weren't working too well that day, and when he was getting flamed by a lot of people, particularly Dundee United fans, of course, he just disappeared. So for him to come out as vehemently using language like that for Duke, he's a diver. I think Marvin, we're talking about not getting a good view and angles and that, I think Marvin must be 110% convinced that he dived, and in which case I think Jim Goodwin's duty bound to come out and say something after the blast at Porteous.
Don't hold your breath.
I won't.
It's as simple as that, and far be it from us to have a programme where we just leather every other pundit, because you could make a programme out of it, but I don't think it's productive. At the end of the day, we've all got opinions, some we like, some we don't along the way, but you know, as we do on this programme, and Tam, I include in this, we offer an opinion. Some people like it, some people don't. I thought he dived as well. I don't think Jim Goodwin will come out and say anything. Karma, and of course that quick way of, you know, biting you in the backside when you've opened your gob the week before or a couple of months before, and that's exactly what happened there. It's a good point you make,
I'm proud of the fact that former Motherwell manager who had a lot of time for, still have, did great stuff at Motherwell, Stuart McCall. He was one of the guys that did actually come out and couldn't be accused of being two-faced. He'd slaughtered, you'll forgive me, I can't recall the opponent at the time, but he'd slaughtered an opponent for taking a dive against Motherwell, getting away with it, getting a penalty, ultimately securing the points. But then, no more than 2 weeks later, if you remember, wee Henrik Ojama, who was a great wee player, particularly first time round we had 2 spells at the club, he dived and he get booked, and Stuart McCall, to be fair, absolutely slaughtered him. He said, I don't want that sort of stuff at my club. It was brilliant.
Absolutely, you like that, a little bit of integrity.
It would have been different if you got a penalty.
In the cup final. But anyway, let's not dwell on it. I'll tell you one game that I think is going to be really nervy, Ruffy. It's Kilmarnock against Hibs at the weekend. If everybody's looking at the 7-point gap at the top end and that title race between Celtic and Rangers, at the bottom end, as Tam pointed out in the Scottish Premiership table, it is really tight down there, and there are 2 managers that I think, you know, might come under a wee bit of pressure from the fans depending on the outcome of this match. Our reporter Kerry Pollock was on her travels.
Thanks, Peter. I'm here in the one-day capital of Edinburgh today, where the Hibs boss Lee Johnson has been looking ahead to his side's clash with Kilmarnock on Saturday at Rugby Park. He described it to his players as 1 more round before they break for the World Cup, having recorded just the 1 victory in their last 6 games. The Hibs boss says the key to success is to keep the same manager and have at least 3 or 4, maybe even 5 transfer windows. But like many other managers in the Premiership, the pressure for the Leith boss is rising.
We want to be minimum third. That's where we want to be, but there's a work in progress to get there in my eyes. I don't know the history. Like I think somebody mentioned 35 years, Hibs have finished third 3 or 4 times in that 35 years. So there's a historic piece here that we have to act differently, be different. Not necessarily overcomplicate things, but be better at what we do over a period of time as a football club. And in that sense, it has to be a collective. However, focus always turns to the manager.
Yeah, absolutely. And the focus is going to turn to you, Lee, because I'm just about to remind you, you're at Hibs, and the chances of you getting 5 transfer windows, there's more chance of me, you, and Tam heading to the World Cup.
It was nearly as good a statement as, remember, the Dutch boy who came in and was going to change the whole of the grassroots football in Scotland, and he said this is a 10-year
Mark Votter.
This is a 10-year project.
Yes, absolutely. I like that idea.
But you're right about the scale of that game, because you know what, Peter, see if you're looking at it from Kilmarnock's point of view, see if Kilmarnock can win that one, and then they'd be able to look at the table, get into what is quite a long break for the World Cup. I think they could put the big positive spin on that and say, right, well, look where we are now. We have only just come up for the championship, you know. I think you'd have accepted that for, you know. But if Kilmarnock lose and then suddenly it's the panic and they're Regan straight back down, and then Hibs are kind of back in with the hunt. But it's a huge game. But I just got a feeling they could cancel each other out, and I think you'll know predictor-wise what I'm going to go with that one, aren't I?
Yeah, well, absolutely. That's one where I think you might be on the mark. But nevertheless, when you look at Derek McInnes, I think you'll be looking and thinking, okay, I'm getting a wee bit worried about this. But I think if Hibs were to lose that game, Ruffy, considering the form of Kilmarnock and the way Hibs are playing at the moment, I think a lot of Hibs fans will be looking and saying, listen, we don't fancy him. And I think that would be, again, rather sad to make a quick knee-jerk reaction on the basis that they've done it before. They've done it with Jack Ross, done it with Sean Maloney. So, you know, the writing's on the wall with them. I don't think the American owner has any kind of compassion when it comes to when the thing's starting to go, you know, downhill.
No, the American owners already stated we should be the third team in the league. You know, and that's where he wants to be. And if they were to lose this one, they're nowhere near being third in the league. And we saw it, as you just touched on it there, we saw what these Americans do, whether it's here or Dundee United or Aberdeen. They don't wait about, they don't hang about, they make a decision. And sometimes it's the supporters that make the decision, and they've already had, 18,000 at Easter Road and walked away disappointed, and then the midweek there. And I think he's coming into the same category as the Rangers manager is running out of games.
Well, I'll tell you another thing, which I think one Hibs fan sent as a message, and he says, you know, never mind the manager, the whole structure's wrong when they start signing players by committee. And that was something that really kind of, I think, derailed Sean Maloney and Jack Ross. This whole recruitment thing can do you in, as it has had a detrimental effect, I think, on Giovanni Van Bronckhorst, because of the players that they signed, not many of them were pushing for a start.
No, well, as far as Hibs go, I have been keeping tabs on what Tam McManus has been saying about it, and maybe getting some of they've apparently got a very, very successful 19s team, and Tam's been, you know, he's been championing them and talking them up and saying, you know, give some of them a go rather than just bringing in some randoms on loan who haven't exactly been setting the heather alight. But again, you know, Tam would be the first to say, and maybe even admit, that sometimes if you'd a go at that, then when the team's no doing well, Ruffy, and you're bringing in young boys and putting all the pressure on them, you know, it might work, it might not work, but I think Tam's thinking back, to the halcyon days of when you had him and you had Whittaker and you had Scott Brown and you had that team that everybody thought could, if it had all gelled beautifully, could have won the league or something, all the great young guys. But you know, it's a big ask. But that Killie, I mean, if I wouldn't be glued to the St Johnstone Murrow game, that looks real box office in terms of the old one of the jittery ones.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much to so many of you over the first half of the season who've supported us in great numbers, not only picking up on the football show, but of course all our video content and our reporters covering the games and giving you the interviews from the managers, pre and post match, and the players. If you get a chance, subscribe to PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel for uncensored football news and banter, and it's absolutely free, so hopefully you'll take full advantage of that. Lots of football to look forward to over the weekend. We will preview it for you. Here indeed are the fixtures to look forward to. I think did we see them before, Robbie? Have I mentioned? Okay, don't bother about it. Let's have a look at the England World Cup squad then, because I wish we were there, but this afternoon Gareth Southgate decided he's picked his team. 3 goalkeepers: Pickford, Pope and Ramsdale. The defenders: Trent Alexander-Arnold, Connor Cody, Eric Dyer, Harry Maguire, Luke Shaw, John Stones, Kieran Trippier, Kyle Walker and Ben White. And the midfielders: Jude Bellingham, Conor Gallagher, Jordan Henderson, Mason Mount, Calvin Phillips and Declan Rice. And the forwards: Phil Foden, Jack Grealish, Harry Kane, James Maddison, Marcus Rashford, Bukayo Saka, Raheem Sterling and Callum Wilson. Well, it's not exactly a team full of world-class players, is it? If anything, Ruffy, I maintain in my mind there is only one world-class player in that team.
Yeah, it's Harry Kane, obviously. But I mean, I think it was 2-3 years ago when all these younger players were all coming through. Everybody was told just wait 2 or 3 years and this will be the team. This will be the England team. They'll have all come up through their clubs and experience playing in Champions League football and everything, but on paper they just don't. I don't think they've got a great goalkeeper, and they've got Harry Kane, and I can't see any other goal scorers out there. Yeah, they've got Foden and that, who are wonderful players to watch, and Declan Rice, but I just don't think they've got the quality players in the quality position.
Yeah, I noticed Alan Shearer had mentioned that he thinks at best they might get quarter-finals. I can't disagree with him on that. I don't think they're going to go all the way.
Aye, and I think, to be fair, Peter, the Scottish supporters, Scotland fans watching the games, they'll be looking at the other Harry, at the other end of the pitch, Harry Maguire, and hoping he can do his own turn, because there's always a chance of him. A wee slip there. He's not exactly been in superb form past year and a half, but they're there though. I mean, there's that's the bottom line. England qualified, we had our chance, and we couldn't do it. So you just got to sit back and watch. And there's other big teams. Who were the big teams that didn't make it? In fact, Italy. Italy. Any other big stoters that didn't qualify? Scotland.
Yeah.
So who'd your money be on for the actual tournament?
Well, we've got the sweep. I don't know. Did you pick the sweep?
No, I wasn't. No, it's the first to be in.
Well, the sweep is in.
I got a shot.
I've got France and Denmark.
Right.
Ruffy?
I think it's Ghana and Tunisia that's left.
Who are the weakest? I know Qatar are not meant to be any good.
No, they won't be.
Who are the other weaker nations that are taking part? The minnows.
Say Australia.
Yeah.
Right.
And
what about you always get the dark horse? I mean, tournaments in the past, I had a pal who always Portugal for any tournament were always big odds.
Yeah.
Never quite came off. Who's one that you think, if I was looking for a sporting bet, maybe a wee each way, a 14-1 shot?
I think Germany are always thereabouts.
Yeah, I think that I'd love to see Argentina win it for Messi, just to finally
to
bow out with a.
Who are the favourites?
Brazil. Yeah. So
like a lazy Brazil, are they? They're not the team.
Brazil, Argentina, then France. That's your front three, and then everybody else is a supporting cast.
It was a great thing.
Get France at 14s. What about that?
Right, okay. There was a great thing just to nod. It's the sort of thing you would devour, Peter. When I came in late last night, so I recorded it. I promised I'll watch it tonight. It's a programme on ITV4 called What We Watched. And it was like an hour-long documentary, and it's all just about the 1970 Brazil team at the World Cup. And it just looks, you can never get tired of that sort of stuff, can you?
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, making decisions is the key to all this. Managers have to pick their squad and then leave some out. And Gareth Southgate, I think, wanted to emphasise it was a difficult call.
My priority always on these days is the difficult conversations and the sad news, and that is really tough. There's not many situations in football harder than that. Maybe releasing a young player at the early stages of their career, but the nature of those conversations, good and bad, reminds you of how much it means to a player to go to a World Cup.
Yeah, absolutely. Ruffy never felt that. He was always included in the squad. 3 World Cups, Ruffy. You always feel for somebody just finally that's left out.
Yeah, I think the biggest one for me was George Best. I don't believe he ever got to a World Cup final, and that's the kind of players you want to see at a World Cup final, but I'm sure there'll be a lot of big stars who have never made one.
Yeah, but if your country's going and you're left out, that's difficult.
I remember a couple of the boys, obviously, I think they start a squad of 30 and then it gets cut down and you're sitting waiting on the phone call or whatever. And the worst thing for me is the injury one. Big Gordon McQueen got injured against Northern Ireland in a home championship. He missed it, but Ali took him.
Yeah.
But he never played in anything.
Yeah. Bear in mind, the late great Davy Cooper, as much as I love banging on about him, he was looking good for the 1990 squad. Don't forget, because his form since coming to Motherwell in '89, it was absolutely sensational, and he got a wee ankle knock, and that was it, non-starter.
Yeah, absolutely. Gut-wrenching if you are left out of a squad. Anyway, we had a few technical issues. We've had a few technical issues this week, Ruffy, which really has been very, very unusual on PLZ Soccer's YouTube and across all our social media channels. But if you get a chance, subscribe to PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel, download the app. You'll get all the breaking stories, and it's absolutely free as well. We'll be back tomorrow in the company of Tam McManus, looking ahead to the weekend's football. Thanks to Tam, thanks to Ruffy, and from myself, Peter Martin. Join us at 4 tomorrow on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel.